The quiet dawn slowly spread across the sky, painting the clouds in delicate shades of peach. In the small city maternity hospital, a morning somnolence reigned, broken only by the rhythmic tapping of keys at the nurse's station. Eleanor finished her second cup of tea, preparing for her rounds. The calm Sunday morning promised to be uneventful, but fate has a way of shattering human expectations. "Move it, now." A harsh voice sparked behind the doors, and soon a young woman, doubled over in pain, was led into the admitting ward. Officers in strict uniforms supported her by the elbows. Pregnant and pale as a sheet, she gasped for air, her fingers clutching the fabric of her oversized jacket. Her labor had started suddenly on the road, and the transport driver had swerved toward the nearest facility that could provide help. "We've got an inmate, she's ready," a nurse reported curtly, peeking out from the staff room. Eleanor set down her cup and walked briskly downstairs. In the receiving room, on a hard cot, lay a girl whose face was slick with sweat, her blonde hair matted to her forehead. Beside her, shifting from foot to foot, stood two guards. "I assess her condition as urgent. Get her to the delivery room immediately," the midwife said after a swift but professional examination. The guards followed the gurney. "Stop. Your presence here is unnecessary," Eleanor said softly but firmly, blocking their path. "We have orders not to leave her side," the senior officer snapped, his face a mask of indifference. "She's a flight risk. The risk here is infection and stress for the patient. You will stay behind these doors." This is not a discussion, her voice, usually quiet and soothing, took on the hardness of steel. "Or would you rather explain to your superiors why you disrupted a safe delivery?" The guards exchanged dissatisfied looks. "Then we are required to use restraints. Handcuffs." Eleanor tightened her lips, feeling a surge of anger and helplessness. Fighting the system head-on was useless. "Only on one hand. And you will remove them the moment I say so." In the sterile silence of the delivery room, the metal of the handcuffs clicked, a cold ring closing around the girl's thin wrist, shackling her to the rail of the bed. Eleanor turned away, pretending to check her instruments to hide the trembling in her fingers. "What's your name, dear?" she asked, approaching and placing a cool palm on the girl's forehead. "Vanessa." She exhaled, barely unclenching her teeth. The midwife's heart froze for a second, as if hitting a jagged piece of ice inside her chest. A name that had constricted her throat for so many years. But years of professional experience took over, not a single muscle on her face flickered. "Vanessa, your only job now is to listen to me and breathe. I'll take care of everything else. Trust me." The girl nodded, a shadow of trust flickering in her forest green eyes. Eleanor began her work, her movements precise and confident, her voice a steady beacon in an ocean of pain. She guided, prompted, and comforted. For decades within these walls, she had helped bring a whole generation of the town into the world, becoming a legend and a quiet saint to the locals. But no one knew that at night, she would stand by the window and look at the stars, whispering a single name, the name of the daughter lost in the vortex of another's greed. Many years ago, Eleanor's life was different. Young and happy, she was raising her tiny daughter, Vanessa. Her husband, Arthur, seemed like her rock and her dream back then. But success in business changed him, turning him into a cold, arrogant stranger who one day openly brought another woman into their home. "Don't make a scene, don't embarrass yourself," he had tossed at her. "Just go take care of the kid." She tried to run, to take her daughter and go to her mother in the countryside, but Arthur, already possessing connections and wealth, only sneered, "Try it. You'll never see her again." The fear of losing the only light in her life chained her to a house full of humiliation. And when the girl turned 6, he threw Eleanor out himself, deciding to marry the daughter of an influential politician. "Get back to your backwater," he said, his words falling like stones. "I don't need you anymore." But the cruelest blow was the court. Arthur's lawyers, masters of dark rhetoric, built a flimsy but convincing house of cards out of lies. They portrayed Eleanor as a negligent, distracted mother. The pretext was a long-forgotten incident. During a picnic in the woods, little Vanessa had stepped on a glass shard. The shallow wound on the arch of her foot healed, leaving a faint scar shaped like a bird's wing. At the time, it was just an accident. Now, it became evidence of neglect. The verdict was harsh and final. Eleanor was stripped of her parental rights. Arthur took the girl and vanished. Rumors spoke of him moving overseas. Every attempt to find a trail hit a brick wall. Broken, Eleanor returned to her roots and found salvation in her work, giving all her unspent tenderness to other people's newborns and their mothers. And at night, she was haunted by the same dream, a tiny hand in hers and laughter carried away by the wind. "Vanessa, don't tense up, let the pain go," Eleanor's voice sounded hypnotically calm. As she helped the girl into a more comfortable position, the midwife mechanically glanced at her foot. And froze. On the delicate skin, like a stamp of fate, lay a pale, almost invisible scar. The shape of a wing. The very wing she used to kiss while applying a bandage, the one she had dreamed of for countless nights. The world narrowed down to that tiny mark. Blood thundered in her temples. "Vanessa," slipped from her lips in a whisper so full of wonder and pain that she frightened herself. "Yes? Is something wrong?" The girl opened her eyes, startled. "Everything. Everything is wonderful, sweetheart. Everything is going as it should. Just breathe." She forced herself to concentrate on the process, pushing back the surging avalanche of emotions. But her heart already knew. It beat in unison with the stranger's heart, drumming, "She is here. She has returned." A few hours later, filled with tension and quiet hope, a healthy baby boy was born. When Eleanor placed the warm, new-smelling bundle on the mother's chest, the girl burst into tears, clutching her son to her. "My son, my angel. No one will take you from me, do you hear? No one." Those words, full of despair and love, pierced the midwife through. She understood, ahead of this young mother was a return behind barbed wire, and for the child a state nursery. The guards were already pacing by the door, showing their impatience. The patient underwent a difficult delivery, Eleanor declared, blocking their exit. She requires at least 24 hours of observation. Her condition is unstable. Our doctors will handle it, the senior officer insisted. Your doctors are 100 miles away. If she starts hemorrhaging on the road, the responsibility will be yours. Yours personally. Doubt flickered in his eyes. After a short radio consultation, he nodded. Until tomorrow morning. But a shift will guard the room. That evening, when silence fell over the corridors, Eleanor locked herself in the office. Her hands were shaking. She opened the medical history. Blood type O negative. The same as hers. And her daughter's. She closed her eyes, recalling Vanessa's sleeping features, the oval of the face, the shape of the eyes. It was all painfully familiar, an echo of her own youth and her late mother's traits. It's her. Dear God, it's my baby girl. She approached the ward. The guards on the night shift were dozing in chairs further down the hall. The girl was asleep. Eleanor carefully lifted the edge of the blanket. Yes, the same scar. No doubt. Vanessa opened her eyes, sensing a presence. Is something wrong with the baby? Her voice was hoarse from exhaustion and fear. Sleep, dear. Your little champ is doing just fine. I just wanted to check on you. How are you feeling? Everything hurts. But inside, it's so bright. That's the light from your son. He'll keep you warm forever now. Eleanor sat on a stool, her fingers nervously interlacing. Vanessa, if it's not a secret, how did you end up in this situation? Is there anyone I can contact? Anyone who can help? The girl was silent, staring at the ceiling. Then she slowly shook her head. There's no help coming. I ended up here. Out of stupidity and trust. Let's not talk about it. And the baby? The midwife asked softly. They say in cases like this. They promised he'd be with me in the facility until he's 18 months old. And after that. Her voice broke. I don't know what happens after that. Will they take him away forever? I'll try to do something, Eleanor said, more firmly than she intended. And you? Tell me. Sometimes, to find a way out, you just need to speak. And Vanessa told her. Her childhood abroad with a father and a cold stepmother who insisted her real mother had died, unable to handle the hardships of life. Her return to the country after her father's business collapsed. The terrible accident that took her guardians when she was 16. The creditors who took everything. The foster system, where she was always an outsider. Then trade school, dreams of becoming a designer, a tiny dorm room, and factory work. Then meeting Julian, charming, generous, with the manners of a prince. His family had status. She believed in the fairy tale. But the fairy tale was a trap. During a raid on her room, police found packages of illegal substances. It turned out Julian had been using her place as a stash. His influential relatives quickly steered the investigation in the right direction. The public defender didn't even look her way. The sentence 7 years. The baby became her only hope, her reason to hold on. You saved me today, Eleanor, Vanessa whispered. Now I only fear one thing, that they'll take him from me. What do I do? I will find a way, the woman promised, and in that moment, it wasn't just a comfort, but a vow made to herself. Sleep now. Tomorrow is a new day. She stepped out, leaned against the cool wall, and let out quiet, burning tears. Now she knew. And she had to act. Memory obligingly provided a lead. A year ago, she had helped deliver the child of a prominent human rights lawyer's wife who was visiting family. The delivery had been rapid, with complications she had managed to overcome through experience and composure. The husband, Mr. Sterling, had been over the moon and, upon leaving, had handed her a business card. If you ever need anything any day, any hour, I'm in your debt. The card was found in the deepest pocket of her work bag. A call at such an hour might have seemed tactless, but everything was at stake. Mr. Sterling, I apologize for the intrusion. She began, her voice trembling. The lawyer remembered her instantly. He listened to the story without interrupting. It's a dark case, but not hopeless, he mused aloud. But why are you so involved, Eleanor? There are, unfortunately, many cases like this. She is my daughter, she exhaled, and those words, spoken aloud for the first time in decades, brought a strange relief. I am certain. Absolutely. She shared her evidence, the scar, the blood type, the striking resemblance. That's not enough for a court, of course, but for me as a man it's enough, Mr. Sterling said. Forget about fees. I'll handle this personally. You gave life to my son. I'll try to return life to your daughter. They mapped out the steps. The lawyer promised to start the paperwork for a case review and temporary placement of the child the next morning. Eleanor needed to secure permission for temporary guardianship of the boy. In the morning, a pale and sorrowful Vanessa was taken back to the detention center. At the last moment, while the guard was distracted, Eleanor managed to whisper, "Don't lose hope. The best lawyer in the state is on your side. Everything is going to change soon." Step back. The guard barked, but in Vanessa's eyes, there was no longer just gratitude, but a spark of trust. "Will you look after Leo?" she shouted from down the hall. "Leo?" Eleanor froze. "I named him Leo. Like a lion. So he'd be strong." Tears welled up in the midwife's eyes. "I'll look after him like he's my own." She went to the window and watched as the black vehicle disappeared into the morning fog. Leo. Her grandfather's middle name. The blood ties spoke for themselves. In the nursery, the boy, wrapped in a blue blanket, looked at the world with huge, bottomless eyes. "Little Leo, my sweet boy," she whispered, barely touching his cheek. "Hang in there, little one. Grandma will fix everything." The next day, the hospital's chief of medicine, Drive Miller, returned. "I heard we had some excitement on Sunday?" he asked, taking off his coat. "The inmate's gone, thank goodness. We'll sort out the baby, the paperwork will follow the usual route." Drive Miller, about the baby, Eleanor began firmly. "I want to take him under temporary guardianship. And eventually, perhaps, adopt." The doctor was stunned. "Eleanor, are you out of your mind? You're on your own, working around the clock. And the girl will get out eventually and take him. Why do you want the trouble?" "He's my grandson, Mike," she said simply, and it sounded like a final judgment. No explanation was needed. The chief, who had long harbored a quiet, unrequited affection for her, only threw up his hands. Fortunately, at Child Services, Eleanor was known and respected. The director herself had once delivered under her care. A week later, having cleared the bureaucratic hurdles, Eleanor left the city with little Leo bundled in her arms. She took a long leave of absence, causing gossip and confusion among her colleagues. The boy grew by leaps and bounds. He smiled, he cooed, and in his green eyes, just like his mother's, golden flecks danced. Eleanor kept up a correspondence with Vanessa, sending photos and detailed descriptions of every new milestone the baby reached, but she kept the secret of their kinship for now. She was afraid to break the fragile bridge of trust just beginning to form between them. Thanks to Mr. Sterling's persistence and connections, the case moved off its dead point. They found the real culprit, Julian, and uncovered forged documents and witness tampering. The investigation dragged on for months, but every day brought new hope. Finally, in the spring, the news came, the conviction was overturned, and the case was dismissed for lack of evidence. Vanessa was released. It was an early morning when she walked out the gates. The air smelled of melting snow, damp earth, and freedom. All the way on the bus, bouncing over potholes, she thought about her son and the woman who had become her guardian angel. The lawyer had told her the truth. At first, Vanessa didn't believe it, then she cried, then she sat in silence, absorbing the incredible news that her mother was alive, that she was so close, and that she had loved her all this time without knowing where she was. Now, approaching the neat house with carved shutters, tucked away behind lilac bushes ready to bloom, a strange trepidation seized her. What if it was a mistake? What if Eleanor, having grown used to the baby, didn't want to let him go? What if the mother she had suddenly found turned out to be just a kind but distant stranger? She pushed open the gate. From the porch came a soft, melodic voice. "Look, Leo, do you hear the icicles melting? The birds are back, they've brought us news." Eleanor appeared on the threshold with a stroller. Seeing Vanessa, she froze, and her face lit up with such a radiance that all the girls' doubts melted like the last of the snow. "Vanessa. My daughter. You're here." "I'm here," Vanessa said simply, tears flowing freely. Can I see him?" "You can and you must. Leo, look who's come to see us." Vanessa leaned over the stroller. The boy, plump and rosy, looked at her with a serious, inquiring gaze. She reached out a finger, and he grabbed it with his tiny, strong hand. In that moment, everything inside her shifted. I'm afraid to hold him," she whispered. "I've just come from there. I carry the cold of those walls. He's so pure." "Silly girl," Eleanor embraced her, and in that hug was the strength of a whole life spent waiting. "You are the purest of all. You survived. You are his mother. And my daughter." They stood there, merged into one, while the spring sun caressed their faces. Then there was tea in the kitchen, smelling of vanilla and fresh bread, and a long, long conversation. When evening came and Leo fell asleep, a silence followed. "Eleanor." "Mom." Vanessa began tentatively. "I don't know how to work this out. Tomorrow I have to go to the agency, find a job, settle things." "Why go anywhere?" her mother interrupted, taking her hands in hers. "You're home." "But I can't just be a burden. I know you've grown close to Leo, he's like a grandson to you." "He is my grandson," Eleanor smiled. "And you are my daughter. And this house is yours. Your room has been waiting for you all these years. No one lived in it, but I always knew you'd come back." And then she told her everything. The whole truth about Arthur's lies, the court, her failed searches, and how she had recognized her in the delivery room by the wing-shaped scar. "Why didn't you say anything right away?" Vanessa asked, her eyes reflecting a storm of hurt, pain, and a hunger for love. "Because I was afraid you'd push me away, like your father did. I was afraid you wouldn't believe me. And then I wanted you to just feel safe first. To have a foundation. I looked for you always, sweetheart. Every day. In every child I helped bring into the world, I looked for your features." Vanessa looked at the face, lined with wrinkles but beautiful in its kindness and strength. And suddenly, everything inside her grew quiet. All the resentment, all the years of loneliness dissolved in the warm light pouring from her mother's eyes. "Mom." She breathed, throwing herself into her arms as she had in her early childhood. "Mom, forgive me. I didn't know for so long." "It's not for you to ask forgiveness, my little bird," Eleanor whispered, stroking her hair. "It's I who should ask forgiveness for every day you lived without me. We are together. Everything starts anew. And I will do everything to make sure your sky is always clear." They sat, huddled together, as a soft spring night descended outside. In the crib, Leo slept peacefully, their shared future, their new hope. And Eleanor understood that her heart's long journey had finally ended. It had found its home. It had returned to her in the form of a grown daughter and a tiny grandson. In this quiet happiness, so simple and so complete, lay the beautiful, wise harmony of life, where after the longest and coldest winter, a generous, blooming spring inevitably arrives. Thank you so much for watching this incredible story. If it touched your heart, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more emotional journeys. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new story. See you in the next video.